Now, there are two things that all Jaguar fans can pretty much agree on. One is that the Jaguars need to fire Trent Baalke. And number two is that the Jaguars desperately need wide receiver weapons. Our wide receiver room right now is not very good. We have Tavon Austin, Laquan Treadwell, Laviska Shenault, who's not looking very good. All these guys just are not fitting the bill for what we need to provide for our young quarterback. We look around, Kyler Murray has guys like DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, Rondell Moore. You have Joe Burrow, who has Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. Trevor Lawrence doesn't really have anything. So major things need to happen at the wide receiver position this offseason to, at the very least, have a formidable group to go out there and run, because the Jaguars did Trevor Lawrence no favors his rookie year when it comes to providing him adequate weapons for the NFL level. And right now, the wide receiver free agency class has taken a major hit over the last couple of weeks. Wide receiver for the Buccaneers, Chris Godwin, tore his ACL. Just last week, wide receiver for the Dallas Cowboys, Michael Gallup, tore his ACL. So that doesn't count those guys out of the fact that maybe the Jaguars can sign those guys. But what it does is that these guys are going to be missing offseason activity, training camp, preseason, and it's probably going to linger into the 2022 NFL season. So those options are rough. And, even the Buccaneers were pretty much planning on saying, hey, we're going to be signing Chris Godwin. And the other wide receiver that's out there is Devontae Adams, but there's no way the Packers are letting him go. Packers are a team that they don't really sign players from other teams very much because they draft so well, they can just sign their own guys and not have their own guys leave the building. And one way or another, at the very least, the Packers will franchise tag Devontae Adams. So that leaves the cupboard very, very thin. However, a report came out that the relationship between wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons, Calvin Ridley, and the Atlanta Falcons itself, there is a chance and a hope that there is going to be a fresh start for both sides, that Calvin Ridley will move on and he will be available via trade. This is a move that the Jaguars absolutely have to pursue. First of all, they have to look into the reason why he was out for the 2021 season. He played a few games, then sat out the rest of the season due to mental health reasons. He needed to step away from the game of football. And, that's big. And we're kind of seeing that more and more really with the last couple of years, that, look, if you're not right mentally, the world will look at you and say it's okay if you take a step back and really put what's most important in life first. And that's obviously going to be a big thing the Jaguars will need to look into, is why did he step away? But if all things are good with him, then the Jaguars absolutely need to pursue him. Because right now, when you look at the free agent class, there's not much out there. And the Jaguars, we are desperate right now. I mean, we have to go into desperation mode to be able to get a wide receiver, because obviously there's not much in the free agency market. When it comes to the NFL draft, unless you're trading back, there's really not a guy that's going to be taken at number one with where you're at. So, what are we going to do? What are we going to do this offseason? I made up this point. I put this out on Twitter. So if you guys follow me on Twitter, you guys got an early leak at what I'm thinking. But I would say, in order to get Calvin Ridley, what if we were to swap first-round picks with the Atlanta Falcons? Jaguars obviously have the number 1 overall pick, and the Atlanta Falcons, at the season ending today, hold the number 10 overall pick in the NFL draft. What if you're to swap those picks? The Atlanta Falcons, I cannot ever remember them having a premier edge rusher. Maybe they go out there and say, look, we really like Thibodeau. Let's bring him. He'd fit our defense perfectly. Or maybe even Aiden Hutchinson. Those guys would be available if the Jaguars were to swap picks. And then what if the Jaguars at number 10? Calvin Ridley, he's a wide receiver too. He's not a wide receiver one. Some of his best work was coming on the opposite side of Julio Jones. And Calvin Ridley fits the exact type of receiver that the Jaguars need. He's a very fast, speedy guy, very good route runner, very good hands. He'd be a perfect complement to a wide receiver one. And at that number 10 overall pick, at that point, now it's worth being able to get a wide receiver. You know, I mean, you can get your Jameson Williams or your Chris Olave or whoever your flavor of the month is at whoever your top wide receiver is. Boom, number 10 would be a great spot. And then on top of that, give DJ Chark a 1-year prove it deal type of thing. DJ Chark is not going to be getting a mega contract anywhere, but he's the type of receiver that has a lot of potential. He has great speed. You know what I mean? But for DJ Chark, he's not going to be able to get the type of contract he might be looking for. But if he can go out there, sign a 1-year prove it deal, and go out and put up some big numbers, then with DJ Chark's size, his speed, athleticism, a team might be willing to give him a Kenny Galladay type of deal. But he hasn't proven that he can do that yet. He had one great season. Other than that, just a bunch of duds. And obviously now he's coming off of an ankle injury. So the Jaguars make a trade for Calvin Ridley, move back to pick number 10, get one of these top wide receivers in the draft, re-sign DJ Chark, and then boom, this wide receiver room looks a whole lot better. It looks a whole lot better. Calvin Ridley right now, he's going into his 5th year as the Atlanta Falcons. It would be his 5th year option, so he would be $11 million owed to him next year. And, you know, the Jaguars can pretty much sign and trade. I mean, trade him, sign him to a deal, and boom, you have a really good wide receiver too. And then try to find a wide receiver one out there. Wide receiver ones are not really found in the offseason or in free agency. You know, I mean, Chris Godwin is not a wide receiver one. Michael Gallup is not a wide receiver one. Both those guys are probably the 3rd best receivers on their teams. Obviously, Devontae Adams is one, but he's not going to be let go. So, Jaguars can do some big money moves, man. This would be a huge move if they were able to execute this properly. But like I said, you have to look into what is going on with Cal Ridley mentally. You know, we just got off of a case with CJ Henderson with all his mental health issues, but I think probably that is was a lot worse situation to Cal Ridley. But desperate teams do desperate things. But at the same time, great franchises pull off risky moves. You know what I mean? Look at the Los Angeles Rams. They haven't had a 1st round pick since Jared Goff. You know what I mean? The Kansas City Chiefs traded a 1st round to move all the way up to get Patrick Mahomes, a guy everyone was like, what? Who? Texas Tech? You know what I mean? Great teams pull off risky moves, and this could be the start of something. But obviously had to take into his mental health issues. And don't be one of those guys that's like, oh, he didn't want to play for the Falcons. Oh, why would he want? Don't assume anything about this man, because we don't know anything about him. So it would just be ignorant if you're going to sit here and act like you know anything about who Calvin Ridley is, what he's going through right now, because that stuff hasn't been made public. So it's a big move. I would go after him, but obviously they have to do the homework on their end and then figure it out that way. And also the trade compensation, I don't know if that would be enough. Maybe you throw them a player like Laviska Shenault. Maybe, I don't know, we have 2 third-round picks. I don't know if maybe do a swap there. I don't know. Make sure the price is right, but I do not want to see us get outbidded. We have the draft capital. We have the money to be able to pay him. No team should outbid us. You know what I mean? It'd be a damn shame if we look at it and a team like the Saints or something like that, some random team out there does not have what we have, were to go out there and, outbid us. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Would Calvin Ridley be a guy that you go after? I know for me, I damn sure would. And yeah, let's fix this team this offseason. With all that said, go Jaguars, and I'm out.